What up, everybody? It's your boy Evan, one half of MF Pearl. We got the other half sitting behind the camera, making sure that we rolling. We got David back there.
Hey everyone.
Yes, sir. And you know what it is? Every Wednesday, Volume 2, live at MFHQ. Disclaimer. Live at MFHQ is in fact not recorded live. It's actually a pre-recorded program. This episode contains visually explicit content, so feel free to do what you wish with that information. If you could be so kind of like, follow, and subscribe for me. We go a very long way. New episodes every Wednesday. Now back to the show. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We back at it every Wednesday. It ain't no different. Legends only in the building. Make sure you guys keep showing love to the platforms. Of course, you can find all of our full-length episodes on YouTube. You could also find them on our website, mfpearl.com. If you're streaming our episodes, though, you can find them on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So make sure that you guys are sharing them, giving them a rating, or whatever you can do to show love on those platforms. And, of course, you could always keep up to date with everything that we're doing as soon as it comes out on our Instagram, because that is where we're the most active. So make sure that you guys keep showing love so we can keep growing the platform, keep getting our content in front of more people's eyes. But let's get back to the episode. Yes, sir. I lost a little bit of track, so we're not even going to say no episode numbers because I'm not too sure which one we're on at this point. With everything getting recorded and overlapped and stuff.
It's all a blur.
I know, dude. It is what it is. But today we have a very special guest. Our audience is highly integrated with the creative community, so I know that our audience is going to be very familiar with today's guest. He is responsible for hosting many of El Paso performers' first time on stage, mine included. I remember it was around like right after college where I just decided to go do some verses over some aux beats, and then the journey began. And I credit the platform that I'm about to introduce as well. As the project director of El Paso's longest running open mic series, BWOMS, he is heavily involved with not only the writing community, but the creative community as a whole, because you can find them at all sorts of venues around downtown El Paso, central El Paso, and they're always going ahead and introducing new venues as well along the way. It's a long-running platform that's gone ahead and given a lot of artists opportunity, and his current involvement stems from a background in his own creative and rhythmic writing that he often pairs with some of El Paso's best jazz musicians as well. He'll even go solo sometimes and bust out the looper, and he'll go crazy with it. He's an educator, not only in his profession, but what I believe also in El Paso's artistic nature that he's generously contributed to. So, hold on. The boy keeps it cosmic. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, live at the HQ, we welcome Richie MARRUFO, project director of BWOMS. Yes, sir.
Hustling, man. I didn't even send you that intro. That was dope, man. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Is that clean?
Yeah, I love it. I feel
I'm getting better.
Covered so much.
I had to do with enough justice for Richie, man, because I know that you're an MC in your own right as well.
Cover that. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, a lot of people. I wear so many caps, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know some of them. So thank you.
Of course. I think that's a good starting point. But before we even get into any questions, I like that we saved it a little bit because it's a good question to start with. But it kind of it's easy to ask when you first walk in the door. But how you been, Richie? How are things going?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I've been teaching and doing this stuff for over a decade now, and so it just anyone who if you do this kind of stuff and you're always busy, time flies by like that.
Heck, yeah.
So I'm still going, and everyone always asks me, how you doing? People I haven't seen in a while, how you doing? And I've just been doing stuff I've always been doing, creating, doing open mics, writing poetry, supporting the scene, doing academic events, teaching, grading, all it's super busy. So I keep that going. It's very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling great,
Heck yeah, man. I'm glad to hear it.
And I'm super happy to be here. I really, I appreciate what you guys do in your platforms. I fell in love with Midnight Sessions. I didn't tell you guys this before, but I do teach right down the street at Rio Grande. I did tell you that. I teach at Rio Grande campus here at El Paso Community College. I love to play music for my students. Like at the beginning of class,
Yeah.
they're coming in. I'll set up the computer. I'll just play some music. They come in. They'll ask questions. Midnight Sessions is like legit,
You
know.
spun a
Like
few
just I'll put it. Yeah,
episodes?
man. I put man, I love what we have in our scene, and it really. I'm gonna ramble a little bit, okay, guys.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I love what we like. We have so many amazing artists, and like it's kind of an underground. And for me, I'm like, how can we bridge to more people? That's always been my question. But so like in my class, I have students who don't go out to shows and stuff, and I tell them like, yeah, we got really dope artists, so I'll play Kikimora.
Yeah.
And like so the Midnight Sessions is an easy like channel to go to. So I'm like, go follow them. At one point I was hosting the 306 sessions. Like
Yeah.
so we were on PBS for a little bit, and so I'll just play random stuff for them. Like this is a local, and they don't even know.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the students will walk in a little late, like, oh, who's this, Mister? And it's a local band, Go catch them. Like,
The
tell 'em,
Mister.
you guys know. That's how
Yeah,
they
yeah,
Mister,
yeah.
But
Been great overall.
yeah,
It's good.
exactly.
Heck yeah. I'm so glad that we have you in the building because a lot of what we've done as a platform has been based around trying to showcase what we have here in the city.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of questions. I'm excited to get into them.
Cool.
Let's go ahead and crack open some beverages while we get into some questions. Today, we got one of those nice episodes where we're graciously sponsored by the wonderful people, Gus and Brisa
Yeah.
of Old Sheepdog Brewery. They were kind enough to go ahead and sponsor the episode, so we will be able to sip on some brews today. My name is Hef. Yeah.
My name is Hef. That's
Yes,
a great
sir.
reference. Yeah, man.
Shout out to the main Gus.
All the love to Old Sheepdog. We've been going since they opened up, and have been involved with them. Obviously, we do an open mic with them the last Thursday of every month. So yeah, all the love to Gus, Brisa, the whole family. Salute. Did you get that ASMR?
Heck yeah, we did.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Cheers, David.
Salute.
Cheers to the squad.
Cheers, you guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Also, I gotta give it to Old Sheepdog. They kill it on social media. Like their TikToks, their reels.
TikTok's pretty
like,
crazy.
I always gotta tell them like that was great. Perfect.
So Richie, I think one of the cleanest ways for us to open up is right now. You mentioned it, and I framed the question using that exact wording too. You wear a lot of hats,
Yeah.
and that's just in life in general. But BWOMS alone, you wear a shit ton of hats. I want to kind of start with BWOMS. That's where a lot of the creative community has met you
Yeah.
and has learned about you. Can you kind of briefly explain the hats you wear for BWOMS, your involvement with it? When did you start?
Yeah. So the more I work with people, a lot of people will like mention or introduce me as like a founder of BWOMS, and it's not necessarily true. Okay, so BWOMS, aka, by the way, thanks for saying it the right way. I don't know if there's a right way, but a lot of people say BWOMS, and that just sounds more clunky, a little maladroit. Whereas BWOMS, it's like there's a poetic nature to it. It's like a punch, BWOMS,
Yeah.
It's poetic.
It
There's
does
a
sound a little
meter.
more punchy like that.
But it stands for Barbed Open Mic Series, and it actually started as part of the UTEP Creative Writing program, the MFA program, back in 2007. So some of the creative writing students who were there at the time, Veronica Guajardo and Trent Hundley, as well as Roberto Santos, it was part of the college, and they were reading series, so it would feature like people in the creative writing department like doing some readings, and just a great way to encourage them to share their work in another medium, because sometimes they just see their work on the page, but to me good work can exist both on the page and on the stage. Like you can read it well and people will be interested in it. At some point I guess the college decided not to like fund it anymore, or like, so we went independent. And Roberto Santos at that time took over, and he turned it into like an event. So I think there were a couple places they tried out, but we found a home at the Percolator. And I talked to people who've been on the scene for a while, and people who've been there for a while like fondly remember the Percolator. It was like the perfect spot where you can get some coffee, a sandwich, but also beer. And it would have live bands, live music. A lot of people who've been in the scene for a while, like who play bands, played their first shows there at the Percolator. And we were there for a while. I started helping out around personally for me, when I was an undergrad at UTEP, because I was studying literature there, I started going around 2008.
Yeah.
You know, I
Like
went
about
to,
a year after it started.
yeah, yeah. So like, I went to an open mic with my high school friends. All of us went to college. A lot of us went to college together, and like we were looking for cool stuff to do. So we found an open mic on the east side at a place called the Lighthouse Cafe off of McCrae. And it was around for a little while, and it was an open mic called Verse in Harmony, run by Alfred Soto and Federico Villalba. You know, and I went with my friends to perform, and I started doing that for a while. You know, I really loved it, and I met a lot of creative community. In fact, Emily Davis, a young Emily Davis, was there. Her last name wasn't even Davis at that point. She was going doing singer. There was a lot of singer songwriters. There was a lot of poetry and prose. They didn't do comedy, which you know after a while I've also there's a whole thing about that. That's a can of worms for later maybe.
Yeah.
But you know I would be at UTEP trying to like invite people. I'd be telling girls like, hey, yeah, I do open mics, and I was taking a class and someone was like, hey, have you heard about the Barbed open mic series? And at first, my first impulse is a very human thing, like, oh, nah, forget that one. I like what I do. And I never would have imagined, like, I heard it from someone else at a class, like, yeah, we went to that, it was cool. And over time, I got very immersed into, like, some creative communities. And I could draw these stories out really long, but to kind of maybe sum it up, I ran into at the really open mic. I met Roberto Santos, who was just like he's on this T-shirt right there, Rob Nice or Rob Nice. He spelled it differently at the time, like Nice, and he's just been one of my best friends ever since. He'd always try to invite me out to drum circles because I play the saxophone. And the drum circle, we'd have drum circles at Tom Lee Park, and he's like, "Come drum with us, come jam." And so I would come out with my saxophone and do there. I met other like just beautiful, creative people, like free, like people just spitting poetry and freestyling and rapping and just drumming. Because when you drum, you're just getting into a beat and like syncing up with each other. And obviously through that, I also started going to the open mics, and I love this. I love this idea of like people creating. And I offered to help. I'm like, hey, if you needed me for anything, and so I helped him co-host a couple times. And then there was a time where he kind of started to realize that he might have to step away from the open mic for a while. And so he handed over to me as the project director, because technically we are part of a nonprofit organization called Border Senses. Mm-hmm. At that point, we were like under their umbrella. They do like writing workshops. They had a literary journal that they published, and the open mic. So I became part of that whole scene, and I took over. And it's crazy, when I took over, I didn't know anything. I didn't have any equipment of my own. Like, I was nervous on stage. Like, I'll talk about that. One of the first times I was on the mic, I remember I have a picture, and I printed out something, and I was like this. I was holding the paper, and it was shaking, and I was like, oh man, it's just crazy to think about. Like, at one point, that was me. But over time, I grew more confident on stage and hosting and knowing how to run a show, make people feel comfortable. Like, as an MC, you have to like control the energy of the crowd a little bit. You got to like hype people up. And to me, one of my favorite things is to like shout people out in the crowd, because you're there and then you feel important when you get shouted out. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's respect there. And that's something I always try to make sure to do. Yeah. And of course, obviously make sure the performers feel good. So yeah, I've been running it. I officially took over around 2012, as the project director. And again, going back to just being busy and doing, it's 2024 now, and I've been doing it, and it doesn't feel like it. In ways it does. Yes, I feel it. I see more grays in my beard that show me, but damn, there's a lot of stories in that time and a lot of growth. We've worked with different venues, but man, BWOMS, that's such a huge part of my life. It's obviously not my main job even, but like it's my passion, and I dedicate so much of my time, probably too much of my time, because as an artist myself, I feel like I've probably sacrificed a little bit. But anyway, damn,
no, that's a good way.
I'm just going.
Oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing to say. When you go ahead and say that, okay, I can relate on the MF level. Mm-hmm. when we're doing when we're getting sessions for other artists to film them, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moments where when we're editing them, I'm just thinking, wait, when's the last time I got a recording session for myself? Like, so I could see how, you know, having a community based event can sometimes have you forget that like you have your own artistic journey as well.
Yeah.
When it comes to the personal creative journey, you were studying literature when you went to school?
Yeah, both
graduate with
grad
it as
school
well?
and undergrad. Yeah, undergrad and grad school.
So then when it comes to writing, especially as an experienced writer who has a lot of, you know, just moments, opportunities, meeting of different people, meeting of different writers. How do you now in today's current day? How do you describe your style as a writer?
Cool.
Maybe
yeah.
even also as a performer. Like combine if you can combine the two.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for asking that. I remember when I first started as like a very amateur writer interested in that. I feel like there's so much to learn still, and I tell my students to this day, like, we're never done learning anything. You know, it's always like a process. It's
Yeah.
always like a lifelong thing. One of my like go-to statements always or aphorisms is there are many paths up a mountain, you know, and I feel like, you know, starting out, a lot of my writing was naive.
Were you like
Amateur.
strictly rhyming, or were you doing different types of creative writing?
Different types, you know. I liked short stories a lot, actually. But when I started getting into like poetry and reading at open mics and poetry slams, that isn't exactly what people do.
Yeah.
And also I grew up playing music. You know, I started playing the saxophone, so I got into jazz as
Before writing?
as an art form.
Instruments before writing?
I guess that could be depending on how you define it. Because I remember like even when I was in elementary school, doing always really well in like I wrote some poetry because I guess our teachers had, and I remember I would like win prizes. Like they gave me a ribbon for writing poetry. I remember writing a haiku in like kindergarten or first grade. Like our teacher taught us. I don't know, that's kind of a young age, but I remember writing a haiku about nature.
Yeah.
And like drawing an art piece with it, and like kaboom, the mighty thunder roars. Like I was just trying to like be
Is
descriptive.
that one of the lines from it?
Yeah, I can't remember it all. Kaboom, the mighty, like yeah, because you know haikus, right?
Yeah.
575, right?
575, 17 syllables. Although, like it's Japanese, so like it's like so haikus in nature are supposed to be like around nature. The last line's supposed to be transformative, like a change, but also like it's interesting because they're not supposed to translate exactly to Western culture. Jack Kerouac did American haikus, which were very different, but I'm deviating. That's how I talk. I talk in tree branches. I talk in trees. You know, they branch out and go. But if I go back to it,
This doesn't have to be a linear
my own
journey.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's all the art, man.
Yeah.
That's why I like Kandinsky and Basquiat and Nico Antuna.
Ooh,
You got
shout out
these
to
crazy,
the
you
boy.
got these crazy artists, Diego Robot, who do these crazy like it's not linear. It's just like explosive and like a feeling.
Yeah, it's
But-
at all ways, at all angles.
But to go back to my writing, you know, in high school, like I like a lot of people become a poet. I had a crush, you know, so I'm like, I'm gonna write you some poetry,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and I don't even have some of my first writing because I remember giving it away. To this
Oh
girl.
man,
Because she was moved freshman year, she moved away, and I did that thing, that cliche thing where like she had a going party and I didn't make it, but I like went to the airport like I gotta go, I gotta go, and then I had my notebook where like I had like stuff I had written and drawings,
yeah,
and I gave it to her. I have a poem about that, but
man. What'd she say when you did it?
it was just, you know, how do you react to that, like especially as a
These are
14-year-old.
Oh yeah, did you put with their parents and stuff too?
Yeah, that was
Did it
awkward as
feel-
hell. Yeah, but like that's not gonna stop me. So, you know, like my poems, like I feel like we both like we're just trying to understand that,
Yeah,
accept it. And my poems, like she cried all the way on her flight to Oakland. You know, so did I. You know,
yeah.
but
yeah,
like
man.
the point in that poem was like trying to also say it's okay if you gotta cry, because there's a lot of like this thing where guys aren't allowed to cry for some reason. And I'm like, nah, do it, because that's the shit that will like provide the nutrients to help you grow into who you are and will be.
Yeah.
That's the way I say it in the poem, like, stuff like that.
It's got to get released.
Yeah. But, then I obviously from there, I did in high school, we had a literary magazine called Reveille. So it was like a literary journal. We would accept poems and short stories. And so I worked with that magazine, collected a lot of stuff. And then I went to college, and I really liked literature. I didn't know what I wanted to major in. Like I was a general studies major because I wanted to try different stuff out. I wanted to do psychology. I thought that was really cool. Biology, music, philosophy. So in the end, I decided I really like reading. I like interpreting and being analytical.
Yeah.
So that's what I went with. And through that, my writing became very like allusions to other literature, which, my Instagram handle,
Yes.
Dead Wall Reveries, is a literary reference. And I always like to quiz people. Do you know where that's from? Do you know where that's from? It's from a literature. Maybe we can talk about that later.
Tell me now.
Tell you now.
Yeah. What does it mean?
So Dead Wall Reveries is it comes from Herman Melville. I don't know if you know who that is, the author.
No, this is about to get crazy.
Yeah.
You got to put us on a lot of writing game.
I mean, it's early American literature, and so probably his most famous book, I know you've heard of, it's Moby Dick.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of people study that and read that in literature class, and that's such a crazy text because there's a literary critic who calls it like a big baggy monster, like that's like the genre, big baggy monster, and every time you read it, you come up with something new out of it. Like that's like the big baggy thing. You pull it out, and you revisit it, and sometimes we bring our own selves into it. And depending when you read it, if you read it at 20 versus maybe reading it at 40 years old, you might have a completely different takeaway. So that's what's called a big baggy monster. And obviously, Herman Melville, when he was alive, that did not see success. It wasn't until after he was dead that like it came into like fame. In fact, it sat around not in like the literature section. It would stick around in the section with like whaling, where they would talk about like whaling.
What?
He talks about whaling in such a technical, specific way.
Yeah.
That's where it was held. But then, the literary canon is something we talk about. It's scholars and academics who kind of bring literature up and elevate it. And sometimes we celebrate good work, and there's a lot of work that we don't celebrate, and we know this today. We think about it with like music too.
Yeah, for sure.
You have the dopest artists that people never hear that we know are good and great, but unless they're talked about like in a certain like scene, like they might not get talked about. And there's maybe the music scene's a little bit more muddied up because you have like money and other stuff, but again, another can of worms. But yeah, Moby Dick. That's his most famous work. He has a short story called Bartleby, the Scrivener of Wall Street, and there's a movie that's loosely inspired by it, called Office Space. You guys know?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that where he just kind of refuses to stop working?
Yeah, he's like, I'm just not gonna do it.
Yeah, he just kind of refuses one day, and the premise of that Bartleby of Wall Street is kind of there's a guy Bartleby, he stops working one day, but like. In his office, he would like his window. He was in New York City. His window, it was a view of a wall. That's it, a dead wall. So it was just like decaying, filled with gunk, and he would just stare at it. And so when Instagram came around, I was just thinking of social media. The way we kind of like they called it the wall at the remember.
Hit, bro.
Remember how
I see where
Facebook?
this is tying together.
Facebook, we called it the wall.
Yeah.
I just felt like we would just scroll, like it'd be like us staring at the dead wall.
Shit.
And then the reveries would be just kind of like that look when we just kind of like go into it. So that's what I came up with, and like I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of, it was improvised, just on the spot.
Dude.
I got to make an account. Oh shit, what's my name gonna be? And I've loved it a lot, so I've kept it this whole time. But yeah, that's a literary reference.
Dude.
But a lot of my poems also have like little things here and there. But yeah, it's inspired by jazz. A lot of people that I read. Like, I like my poetry to be rhythmic. I like it to have a rhythm to it. Not necessarily rhyming, because I think if you try and rhyme all the time, I didn't do that on purpose.
Yeah.
It could be cheesy.
Yeah. You don't. I notice you don't rhyme all the time.
Yeah.
But there's a cadence to what you're saying that
Yes.
like you can hear. It's like you can hear the rhyme that's supposed to be there, in a way.
Exactly. Some people are really good. Like some of my influences, like Sage Francis or like Immortal Technique.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily rhyme all the time, but they with their cadence and the way they present it, like you can still kind of have like a little. You can still nod your head like you're nodding in agreement with to the beat. You know. So yeah, over time it's influenced by a lot of stuff. Jack Kerouac is a beat poet, and he talked about his writing being like playing like a blues. So sometimes I like to think of my words like playing a saxophone, like lines on a saxophone, which is why I do like a lot to work with music, musicians, and beats. So it's not too deep. Also, I'm gonna try and finish this up. I used to do poetry slams as well. Like I was like on El Paso's last poetry slam, official poetry slam team, and I ran a poetry. I started one and ran one. I was part of one. Slams can be kind of intense emotionally.
Okay.
You know, because writing, like a lot of other arts, is a way for people to vent. And so at a slam, you have a lot of people like sharing really sad, traumatic stuff, which is fine. But then, like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try and change it up. I'm gonna uplift. You know, I'm gonna try and celebrate things. So that's another thing about my writing is it's more celebratory. It's more, it could be a little introspective, but for the most part, you know, it's just trying to like celebrate community, culture, you know, the way we create.
Yeah.
So that is a little bit about my writing. I could keep going, but yeah, that's more about the writing.
When it comes to, I guess, exploring writing, maybe, like you said, it's a never-ending journey of learning and getting better.
Yeah.
Of course, I would assume that a lot of where you learn and like digest a lot of other things about writing is from other people's pieces of literature. But outside of that, what are like writing exercises that you either tried one time or always do to like keep your reps in, you know, get your reps in?
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it, right? Getting your reps in.
I wanted to ask you, let me reframe it in a simpler version, but like, what are like some dope writing exercises that have really shaped out your journey as well?
Man, I hope I don't answer this in a way that seems First of all, I always tell my students writing, like any other skill, requires practice.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So to me, also creation requires influence. For me, I'm inspired when I'm living life, going out, going to shows, listening to music, drinking a little bit, being with friends. That stuff energizes me. And so I never know when inspiration is going to strike, but when I'm out and about, it's just, I'm feeling like a line in my head. I'll have a conversation, like this Tuesday, we had an open mic. I was talking to my friend Jasmine, who's also like a professor, PhD, and she's also into hip hop. She mentioned the line, and in my mind, I was already like trying to like transform that into my kind of my own thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because she was talking about some of the scholarship that she's doing and modalities, and so like I was like multimodal when I spit this, you know, I was just trying to in my mind transform that into something.
Yeah.
And it happens on the spot. The important thing is to try and record it, right? So I always carry like a pocket notebook with me that I can like just try and write stuff down.
Yeah.
And it's sloppy sometimes, but you know, I just try and write things down so if I go back later and I'm trying to write, I can like refer to that and kind of build something off of it. Sometimes it's just there and it's not there, like kind of like maybe there's like a dad thing or like the cliche like keeping a piece of wood that I might need this later. And then like later on it's like, oh, I have that piece, and you go through it and you find it and it just like bam, that's what I needed to kind of complete this or like make it work. So I just write stuff in notebooks. I've tried stuff with my phone. Like I don't know, I don't like using notes. A lot of people do. Like I have like the notes app. Yeah, I try.
It's good for me. Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to keep it. I like that because it's safe in a cloud, and because you know my notebook, if I lose it, I lose it, and that's happened, you know. But I've tried to do voice memos as well. Before my last phone, I had some really good voice memos, and I lost that phone, and I wasn't backed up, so I'm like, damn. I remember writing some really cool lines about like how I thought like after the rain, the puddles with like the neon light reflecting it were like portals to like other dreams. Yeah. I'm like, damn, I really love what I wrote, and I lost it. So for me, just living life and following stuff I want to do, that helps so much. Because you can't write about stuff if you haven't experienced stuff too, you know? I think when you've lived it and experienced it, it's authentic and it means something. So for me, that's the first thing is just like go out and live.
That's where you get some of like the most unique bars, huh? Like
Yeah, I mean,
shit
and just
you haven't
like,
heard before.
and like we try and keep everything positive, but even the heartbreaks, all the
Yeah.
rejections, all the that stuff fuels me. So that's a good exercise. It's just living, and I mean, I'm not the first person to say that. A really popular book. I'm drawing a blank right now. Letters to a. I feel bad. I have friends right now. If they're listening, I'm like, it's this piece. Come on, come on. There's you can find it at Barnes and Noble. It's like in the poetry section. It's always there. It's letters to a. Can I look it up really quick?
Yeah, of course.
It's because also the name is like a little harder to remember, but it's like it's advice to a young poet.
Yeah.
It's like a letter. But also like the name is a little harder to pronounce. Oh, okay, yes, it's Letters to a Young Poet, and it's by Rilke. It's Rilke. Right, and that's if you guys are looking to write and check out some stuff there. That's a good one because that's kind of some of the advice, like go out and live. Like you can't write about stuff you haven't experienced, and like that's good. It's good for me. And then I mean, other than that, writer's block happens to all of us. We get so busy.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's paramount. You got to find time to write. There's a creative writing professor at UTEP, Sasha Pimental, and when I was in grad school, I remember visiting her in her office, and I was supposed to be working on some stuff, and she just kind of laid it straight. Like I was like, oh, I can't do it. I'm doing this and this and this. She's like, yeah, I've done that too. Me too. Like, and she showed me like all her readings that like her resume or her CV of all her readings. It was just like pages and pages and pages. And then she's just like, if you're a writer, you're going to write. You'll find time to write. You need to. So that's always stuck with me. That simple.
Yeah.
If you're a writer, you'll find time to write.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and other than that, like there's generative writing workshops, like Tumblewords, my homie Kit ran, runs those on Saturdays, and it's always led by someone different, and that's just cool because it's like no pressure. The whole premise of that is a generative writing workshop is you write to a prompt and then you just share what you wrote. That's it. You can't like explain it or like be like, the only thing you can say about it is this is shit. And it just gives you something to work with. Because to me also, writing is not the writing, it's in editing, revising, making it work. So like very rarely do people like write something and that's how it is. You have to like edit it and make it fit to something, and
yeah, for sure.
So that's the other thing. A lot of people don't understand that part of the process.
Yeah, what you're seeing is almost never the first iteration.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right then. So I asked you that, but you can't spend a semester or a whole year teaching people to just live life. So when you're as an educator, how do you like communicate literature to your students? Like, how do you teach this to people? Like, what's usually your starting point with like the level of students that you have? They're not like kids, right? They're like college students.
It's college, yeah.
So what's usually your starting point? Where are these people usually at when you first meet these students?
They're always at different levels, and especially with community college, you have a whole lot of different like populations. Like you do have a lot of what I call 13th graders.
Okay.
So like they graduate and like they don't know what to do. So like that's what they do. They'll go to community college and try and figure it out. But you also have a lot of people who like didn't go to college right away and like went into the workforce. You had people who started families, so they come back later in life. So we have a pretty diverse like population at the college, and community college is a little maybe more affordable, different ways. So that's one thing, there's no like one size fits all kind of thing. So as an educator, I just try and I can't tell them how to do it, right? Like a lot of people think it's just like sitting there and transmitting knowledge that downloads into their brains. I can just point them in the right direction. Because that's the thing, I tell them like writing is a lifelong journey. We're going to work on some stuff. We're going to read some stuff this semester. So I can show you like some of the things that work for me that have worked for a lot of other people. But you got to find what works for you. Like you got to like know who you are as a writer.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. If you want to get better at anything, you have to be a little self-analytical, a little introspective. Like what are your weaknesses?
You have to listen to yourself too.
Yeah.
You can't avoid it.
Yeah. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Listening to yourself. So like if you know that like maybe you're really creative, but you're just lazy, you got to figure out what pushes you to like make that one step to write or get something going. Sometimes it's just momentum.
Yeah.
Because like a very common thing in writing, like not just creatively, but like academically, writing essays for a class. The hardest thing a lot of time, like, and something I do at the beginning of class every semester is I like to do surveys. So I always like ask very informal. It's not even graded. You know, what's your experience with writing? You know, what do you struggle with? What do you like? You know, or like in your life, where was a time where you used language in a way that was cool, that helped? Like, what was a success having to do with like language? It didn't have to be with class. Like maybe you convinced someone to do something that was for the better, or stop something negative from happening. Like when did you use language in a positive way? But I also ask like what struggles, and probably one of the most common things for a lot of people, getting started. Especially for essays, like for school stuff. You get the assignment, you just stare at a blank screen or a blank paper. That's hard, you know? So I try and work with ways to get ideas, like get ideas out on paper and recycle and all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of different blank canvases. And for a lot of people, writing is not the blank canvas that they're good with.
Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, you find your way to express yourself in different ways. Like, I know so many dancers that, like no, I got to experience through movement, or visual artists, you know?
Painted or something, yeah.
Yeah. So that goes back to knowing yourself, though. You know, you got to ask yourself these questions like, what do I need to express myself? Like, film is such a big one. You know, people who have a lot of trouble sometimes, like, expressing themselves might find it like through storytelling, through film. You know, I always think of one of my favorite shows of all time is Community, right? That's a Dan Harmon show. And one of the characters there, Abed, he, like the first season, I think that's kind of one of the themes. Like he's a little bit on the spectrum, and his dad has trouble understanding him, and he really doesn't like that he wants to study film in college. It isn't until like he kind of sees a film that he made that talks about like a lot of his like family dynamics and stuff that they had trouble talking about came out in the film, that it really hit him like, oh, this is how he can express himself. And it really broke him down. And he realized, because he was very like, no, you're not going to study film. That's a waste of money, or it's a waste of my money. Like, that's just how life is for a lot of us. You know, we, through music, through lyrics, through lyricism, performing on stage, through dance, through art. It doesn't have to be a creative thing, right? It could be anything, right? Mm-hmm. Like skate.
It could be something that doesn't seem creative, but if you just give it like 20 seconds of discussion, it turns out to be a creative like outlet. So when it comes to being an educator at EPCC, are you teaching English?
Yeah, I'm in the English department. Yeah.
Okay, is it English or is it creative writing?
No, I don't teach creative writing. You know, I actually never studied creative writing.
Okay, so it's just traditional literature, English.
Well, okay. Most of the classes people take at community college are essays, like writing, like composition.
Okay,
that's mostly what I teach.
Okay.
Outside of the college, I do teach a lot of creative writing. I do writing workshops with. Sometimes I'll do tumble words.
Yeah.
I talked about border senses earlier. We have different projects. One of them is called Forward, and that's writing workshops for teens, early college. So so border senses, Forward. You know, this past summer actually, this summer, I worked with the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
And those were younger kids, but you know I had them doing some different types of writing stuff. So
yeah,
the creative writing stuff I would say is maybe outside of the college, just because you know there's other professors who've been there longer who kind of teach those.
Yeah.
What I teach there is like a lot of first year composition, developmental stuff, helping with writing essays, language skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, the creative stuff I'll do outside of the college.
As an educator at EPCC, are you majority in control of what you're going to teach, or do you have to follow a certain guideline that they kind of like?
Yeah, we do have standards. I mean, that's why I never tried to go into high school, because it's a little bit more
stricter.
Yeah, both of my parents were teachers, by the way. They're retired now, but my mom taught kindergarten and my dad taught high school, and I kind of saw before they retired, they were kind of just getting fed up with like all the other stuff, not teaching wise, you know,
Yeah.
standardized testing, like dealing with parents. When they retired, they were ready to go. But I saw that, so I liked the freedom of college. That's why I did choose college. Like I started teaching at UTEP around 2010, 2011. Like so, like I started kind of fast and kind of young, like around 23, 24. I started teaching at UTEP, college English classes. The first year composition class in
Teaching
particular.
them, not no TA. Teaching.
Teaching, yeah. First year composition. I had my first classes. So it was interesting being in my early 20s teaching at UTEP college English.
Some of these people were like same age as you and stuff.
Kind of, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I remember those first classes. Those were so interesting. And I still run into students from time to time, even the ones I failed.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I learned so much by failing your class. Like, it really taught me to get in order, you know? Like, even that. Like, those are the students I see, like, I failed your class because I never showed up. So like that taught them.
What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
What do you want me to say to you?
But yeah, I love the teaching part.
Do you find creating your learning, what is it? Your learning plan, your education plan for the semester? Is it pretty easy to do within those standards? Yeah, there you go, lesson plan.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a syllabus that we create every semester. I mean, I have stuff that I like to teach, but we do have like so going back to your initial question though, like we do have some standardized stuff. Like we have a depending on the class, there's like a assigned textbook that is required, but in that textbook there's like essays, and you get to choose which essays you want. I like to bring a lot of stuff from outside, like so I'll put PDFs, you know, and we'll talk about them in class. I used to teach Night by Elie Wiesel in one of my classes. I don't know if you guys ever read that one. That's teenager surviving the Holocaust. You know, it's a memoir.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, I had to stop teaching that one. I thought it was really important. I think it's a really important book, but like it took an emotional toll. I saw it in my students too. Like, it affected a lot of them. You know, reading that. So I kind of stopped after a while teaching that. And like so over the years you switch it up. Also, I like to bring in fresh stuff. I like to bring in a lot of pop culture. I like to bring up a lot because. I mean, even right now in this podcast, I keep referencing other stuff. As a teacher, I do the same thing. Like I'll bring up like pop culture, songs, TV shows, movies, and unfortunately, if it's a little older, they don't get it. So I try and keep up with like the stuff going on. You know, like even then, like some of them are like
tailored to the audience a bit. Tailored to your.
Well, that's kind of whatever you do. Like whatever type of writing you do, I think you have to know your audience. Yeah, absolutely. That's something I teach all the time too, and I'm sure you guys know this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to your audience. So yeah, so I try and keep up, and I'll change things up, my references, even my dumb jokes. You know, my pun. I like to make puns, but it doesn't really work all the time.
Puns, bro. Puns are a tricky slope. You're either really clever or what are you talking about?
Well, also when you're the teacher, sometimes it's just the people put a guard up where they're like, no, I'm not going to accept that from you.
Yeah. So right now, I want to use this as a segue. Right now, you went ahead and said that, you know, with your students, there is no starting point. They all really start at like different spots because, like, a lot of us understand as college students, you're gonna see like a variety of ages, a lot of different walks of life. When it comes to BWOMS, especially through the times as the director, how have you interpreted and like understood and just learned to adapt to the variety of skill of performers?
Yeah. So, one, I feel super privileged when I get like super amazing, dope people go and perform, and I just freaking fall in love. Like, damn, you guys are such a great artist, and that's the easy part, right? Like, just they do their thing. I have nothing to do, you know. Like, I don't know why someone came to mind like Pau. Pau is someone who is kind of relatively new to the music scene. She was going to open mics, but like she's such a talented songwriter, and her lyrics are so authentic. I was talking about authenticity earlier. They come from her, and I think that resonates when people hear her music. and her lyrics, and also she's she's more talented than she realized than I think she knows on guitar. Like she's super more talented. Wait, did I say that right?
Yeah.
She's definitely more talented than I think she realizes sometimes. But that's just one example. Of course, it is an open mic, so I always tell people it is open to people of all backgrounds. So even if if you're just learning guitar, which let's be honest, that can be rough to sit through. Okay, and I don't think people understand that. Sometimes I'm super accepting and understanding, but if people like are, because we do them at bars or breweries, and people don't, I don't people aren't as understanding. So I'm trying my best as an MC to let people know, hey, that was our first time on the stage. We all had a first time. I'm like, just trying to like be positive about it. It's hard also because it could be there's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, do you ever
You're
try
sounding
to watch
condescending?
Yeah, you ever got to watch what you say?
Yes, no, oh, absolutely. Like it's hard. Like I'm trying not to like also like bring them down, but I'm just trying to bring like everyone to like, hey,
Understanding.
we want to lift them up and ultimately be supportive. I think that's the thing. We want to generate an atmosphere of support, right? And like, hey, you got this, like, and ideally, and this is the whole point of like a community. People who have been in the scene can like go to that person like, hey, that was awesome. Keep at it, and like maybe give them advice or like some stuff. Because like I'll see people performing, and I think about it when I'm watching them. I kind of forget sometimes because I'm like running a show, but like little things, because like for example, if someone's up there and they take the mic off the stand and leave the mic stand there, I feel like a pro move is to take that mic stand and put it off to the side.
Yeah.
Because then now if people are taking photos or taking video, it's
the way,
them.
yeah.
It's out of the way. Right. And a lot of people get so nervous they don't think about these kind of things. So, and that's kind of, I guess, one of the goals of the open mic. Not everyone's going to be perfect. It's going to be weird, awkward sometimes. Not everyone's the best singer, but they're working on it. But the point is that they're trying. And we have this time where I do hear people like scoffing or kind of making fun. And I always try and make it a point to kind of indirectly, when I say these people like, these people are up here taking a risk performing in front of you guys. There are people who will never do that. There were people who never like have a dream that big where they're willing to go up on stage and like do that. And I feel I've said it a couple times. Kind of feel sad for the people who make fun of those people. Like at least they're trying something. Also, it's like I also say this. It's like going to a karaoke and like making fun of someone at karaoke. The whole point of karaoke is to have fun. Like you're missing the point of it all.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, sometimes that does happen.
Is that outlook that you just described? Is that you 2012 as well, or did you like barely becoming the director? Is this a growing pain that you had to get through?
Yeah, I mean,
you have to be there at everyone. You know what I mean?
And every show is different. Yeah. I think I've figured out over the years how to respond better to it because, like, how do you respond to that? Like,
was there ever an early show where you looked like you didn't want to be there as the host?
No, I've always been interested in that. I mean, I think that I've been doing it for a while. I think my social battery is not as great as
it's not what it used to be.
No.
Yeah, that's a fair thing to say.
It's hard. Because also when you're emceeing, you kind of be on. You
can't drink too much.
If you're up there like low energy and like not even engaging with people, like I think that people are gonna pick up on that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like get people excited. Like, hey, call people out. Like, how's that beer? Like, what's going on? Like So, but that's hard to do. Like, for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing. I know with Rob. I know he was like towards the end before I took over. I know he was getting a little tired because he wanted to do other things, and we know like he's doing really great things with Rap Seminar, and the stuff he's doing there with his rap school and I felt like he was a little burned out. I feel a little burned out from time to time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's why I'm super grateful for like people like Grizz, who came up and started helping me. Like even just like yes, hosting for Grizz for sure, but even like setting gear up, breaking it down, like that's a whole other thing people don't even know. Like I went a whole decade where like doing it late night at bars and everyone's gone, putting everything away.
Yeah,
and
dude,
it's like one of the loneliest things sometimes, because everyone's like, oh, we're gonna go to this bar, we're gonna go party, and like I gotta put shit away. So like packing stuff away like by yourself, thankfully, like I said, this community. So definitely, there are people who like offer to stick around and help, and I'm always so grateful for that. So these days I've been more about asking for help, and I'm trying to like. I've asked for help, and people do want it, but I realized I'm not as organized as I should be for that. So I'm trying to establish a way. So, because for example, if someone wants to run a show, first of all, do they have their own gear, or do they have to borrow mine? Secondly, do they know how to use any kind of audio gear, or do I have to teach them? Third, do they have reliable transportation? A lot of people don't. So it's just like there's all these factors, and so when I did ask for help, I was a little overwhelmed, like, oh crap. So I'm trying to like figure out how to better organize myself and create a system where I can make that happen. Even if I have to like do workshops or classes on that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the big thing. Going back to your initial question, the whole idea is that the open mic is not just a platform for you to like maybe try something out if you're established already, like try out a new song, just get comfortable on the stage. But it is for people to develop. And the other thing is we take photos, we take video. I'm trying to like take live video and get audio, and so people can have something to work with if they want to use it to promote their social media. Mm-hmm. So there's a whole lot more to it, like it's the developmental thing as well, like minor leagues, developmental stage.
You know how you said it's a work in progress when it comes to building a team of resources, essentially. Yeah. I remember when you had posted about it, you had said that just generally, as easy as you could put it, you're getting pretty tired, and you were gonna you kind of put like an open call for help.
Yeah.
Was that before or after what you just described about like oh shit, I didn't realize how much I need to be prepared for the person I'm helping?
That was definitely the most. Yeah, that's the most recent time. I've a couple times I'd kind of reached out and tried to ask, but that was definitely the biggest time, and where I think most people, because I did a reel, and
yeah,
you know how it is, like that's what like gets pushed out there. So a lot of people saw it, a lot of people responded.
Yeah,
and so it definitely is a way when I realized like, okay, I need to set stuff up first, because also I would love to have people help me take photos. I would like. I'm up there sometimes trying to do like 5 different roles.
Yeah.
Like I bring my cameras and I'll set them up.
Yeah.
Like, if I could even just have someone as a cam operator to make sure it's recording, filming that
30-minute limit.
Yeah, the memory card. Like, I do have one camera that doesn't have the limit.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
What is it?
A ZV. It's a Sony ZV E10.
Sony. Oh.
And what I did, I also got a dummy battery, so I just plugged it in.
Oh,
to
true.
the wall, so it just keeps
That's how
recording.
these guys are. Yeah.
And then I got a 512 gigabyte memory. So
damn.
So it's just filming the whole time.
512.
Yeah, which makes it, then I gotta go. But also, it's not the best lens. I try and do a wide so I can like if I need to edit or zoom in, crop in, whatever. Yeah, that's another thing. So I'm trying to go back. I'm trying to do the live sound. I'm trying to MC. You always have people like, hey, when am I up? Or like, hey, where are we on the list? Like, or people like, hey, is it too late to sign up? Or people like, hey, I've got this track. How can I play it? So I got that. I'm trying to like again mix. I'm trying to like I'll also do the stage, like set up mics and everything's good. So it's a lot of roles. So that's definitely fed into like I'm tired, but also trying to do more of my own stuff. Like we talked about that earlier. I've sacrificed a lot of my own
time
progress.
What is progress for you? What is it that like as a writer and as a performer, what are you working on?
I would love to. I mean, I haven't been published. Like I would love to publish my own book. I kind of want to record. A lot of my stuff is music based.
Yeah.
I would love to maybe record like a little EP, of spoken word poetry with music, a book. But
short stories.
I have stuff.
You said you like.
I've kind of put that off for a little bit. I haven't done short stories in a while. I do a lot of reading.
Whenever you get burnt out from poetry and rhythmic writing, do you ever just try to like jump into different genres for a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have been burnt out from it. I just don't do it enough, unfortunately. And I guess that's what made me realize.
Is that why you don't have burnout yet?
That's what. Yeah,
that's not a good sign. Sometimes you want burnout because it means you have been diving into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't have enough time to do it because I'm doing everything else. I'm doing all the BWOMS, and there's only so much time in the day because I'm also teaching. I also do a literature podcast. So we have to read a book and
on the grind.
2 or 3 readings, and you guys know what it's like to sit down and try and edit audio and video. and get it out in a timely fashion. Then you got to go to support other people, go to other events and support the homies. And so there's only so much time in the day. So again, my attempt to call out was so I can have more time for myself in that regard. I'd love to do more. I'd love to be burnt out. Exactly. I'd love to be burnt out on that other end.
Personal stuff. Yeah. Instead of, well, not that it's bad to be burnt out by BWOMS, but if it's the only thing you're getting burnt out by, then maybe there's not enough diversity.
Well, I mean, in the end, though, it's like not in bubbles, right? It's all connected. So it's just like
oh, that's great.
Everything contributes to like, damn, all right, I'm going to stay in tonight.
Yeah.
If I have a chance, which is rare.
A lot of hats. And then with BWOMS, with being an educator, and then, trying to go in and find time for your own work as well. Is it like, is going to other people's events and shows what, keeps you passionate in all this? Or like what helps outside of like all the creative scene, all that stuff? Like, is there anything that you kind of do outside of all that we might not ever see sometimes that like keeps you passionate in life, that keeps you going?
I mean, so I feel like I alluded to this earlier. Like, I don't know what people's perception of me are. There are people who know me just through BWOMS and just know me through that. Teaching and just know me through that. Sometimes when they blur, it's weird. But like, I work a lot with other nonprofits like the Jazz Exchange. I'm a host. I MC and host a series that they do called Secret Shows. And it's kind of like So Far Sounds. It's a show at a random place around the city to promote it, but also like had two, featured group and an upcoming group. So I MC those. I also do help them with videography.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's another thing that's kind of turned into another avenue for me is over time I've been investing in more gear. Part of it is because, again, the open mics, not to go back to it too much, but I felt like I've got to experience really beautiful, great performances. I'm like, damn, why am I not recording this? Why am I not documenting it? So that is really what like compelled me to like little by little try and invest in gear so I can get good video, but also get good audio.
Yeah.
So like learning how to get audio off of my board that I can match up with the video. So I've been, little by little over time trying to get better at that. Obviously, something that's really important in all of those things is lighting. So investing in my own lighting. You guys have, like, I have the same lights. I bring them to the stage. Like most of my venues, they don't have their own audio or stage stuff. So I bring my own setup. I bring my lights. I bring my own video cameras. I bring my own audio. That's a whole behind the scene things that people don't know.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, even putting it away, that's something they don't know. So there's that. But like because of that, I guess I've also started picking up more videography gigs. So I'll do documentary stuff. People will hire me to be a camera for a project, or do sound for a project. Jazz Exchange is one of them. So like most recently we had a jazz festival and I helped film. Of course I ended up emceeing anyway after a while at the end, but so there's that. With the college, I have another group that I work with called Papagayo, and we're like outside of classes. It's for students to come and hang out and present and get used to like presenting ideas and stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know Papagayo. It's like every week we have a presentation on a different thing led by a student and or faculty member, and that's super fun because it's outside of the class. It's not graded. And that really gets students like involved with the school. So that's something I do as well outside of the scene. I do like to support friends. I mean, being in this business, there's something always going on. And that's why I always hate to hear people say there's nothing to do here. I'm like, what's wrong with you? You got to get out there and experience this. Like I have nights where like there's 3 different things going on and I hate it. I'm like, I can't go to this event because I'm doing this event. And there's another event going on and
do you think the scene's side question? Do you think the scene's always been like this, or you've been in the scene for a minute? How has it evolved over time to what it is today? You're saying there's always something going on. Yeah,
I mean, I do feel like when I started, I was just like figuring stuff out, and there was always stuff going on. I think it was very underground. Okay. I do feel that today, a lot more people are empowered and doing stuff, which I love to see. I think audio equipment, like in general, a lot of this stuff is also like more affordable. So you have a lot of people making more music. It's like more democratized in a way, right?
Accessible.
Like
yeah.
back in the day, like you had like stuff was expensive.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to do like a video show or like record audio, now this stuff is a lot more accessible and available to more people. And I love seeing that. And I think because of that, yeah, there's definitely a lot more going on. I wish it's in little bubbles still. So that one of the questions is like, how can we find out more about all this stuff? Or like, you kind of have to know someone or like kind of be involved in that scene in some way, because there definitely is always a lot of stuff going on. And like I said, it really does bother me when I don't know, the people who complain. I feel like it's very like material things that like excite them, and like versus like, come on, support local bands, like go to a show, buy merchandise. There's a lot of dope like people who do like merchandise and shit. Like, I mean, I always rock these guys, the local 1881. Like they have their caps that they have. Chuco Relic always has a lot of really cool stuff. Like, so I don't know. I'm big about supporting everything and everyone. Back in the day, I used to go out. When I had more energy, I think I was never home. If I did not have my own show, I was at someone else's show to go support and listen. It's a little harder these days, but I'm trying to make a better effort again.
Do you credit a lot of your success and a lot of like what you've allowed BWOMS to become because of that? Like, if you were to advise somebody who's just tapping into the creative scene, would you be like, you do have to be as involved as you can? You can't just like fucking, even if your work is so good, you can't be like a lone wolf in El Paso.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you have to. I don't know. It's kind of. I guess everyone has their own way. Personally, I don't think it's cool. Like, and there's a lot of people who get like bad reps for doing this. Like, they'll go to a show, and if they're playing early, they'll like leave.
Yeah, they'll
not
dip
support
out.
anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a thing I hear a lot of people complain about. Like, it'd be nice if we had a tighter knit community, and I guess it depends too. Like, it's definitely tighter in some places than others, and I do see more people working together, which I think is also really cool. You said at the beginning, talking about like where to find you guys. You talked about like you're very active on Instagram. One of the things I always talk about is it's free to promote, like to follow people and to share a story, to comment, all that stuff that pushes it out. It doesn't cost a thing. So even just doing that is nice and important.
Yeah.
If you can make an appearance, have a conversation, because I also like to see what people are working on. And yeah, I mean, and I guess maybe one of the things I struggle with a lot of time is being here for so long and being friends with musicians and singers and artists, people who run their own venues, their own shows, is I can't go to their shows all the time because I'm doing my own shows. And, you know, it's not that I don't want to support their show and I don't even want to compete. You know, the idea is like, you know what, we're a big city. We can like, if we all grow, we grow together. So, you know, if I do have a night off, I'm trying to be better about like, maybe I just got to get into Red Bull now or something and just, all right, I'll go off for a little bit and make an appearance. Like, it does mean the world, you know, because when I'm performing, I love to see people out there supporting, and if not, you just feel like left behind, left out, and some people do try to be the lone wolf. It's lonely like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's because like I'll go lone wolf a lot sometimes, you know, and I feel
How do you
like
feel?
I feel I regret it more than I'm glad I did it. A lot more often than not.
Okay.
Not so much in the way where I'm gonna sulk about it forever, but more like, damn, you know, like maybe I should. But a lot of it is also just I don't think it all comes from any sort of like I don't want to reciprocate the support. A lot of it does come from like, oh my god, if people just knew how many hats I was wearing, then
Yeah.
maybe they'd understand why I just forgot to like the post or share it, or why I wasn't good at sharing a lot of other people's stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like I get criticism about it, but internally I do feel like sometimes I could be way better at it. But I try to think about it and I'm like, well, I mean, I could be better at it, but maybe if I could offset some of these responsibilities that I'm always having to do, you know?
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, you're also doing midnight sessions in this podcast.
Yeah, it could
So-
get overwhelming.
but that's
for
also contributing in another way.
Yeah, that's what keeps me a little bit afloat. Is like, you know what?
Yeah.
There's a contribution happening, and that's
So-
what I think everyone needs to do: is have a clear, solid contribution to the community. If
Yeah.
you want to be a part of it, I feel like it's only right and it's only mannerism, like good manners, to just like contribute in some sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it also gets complicated. Like, hopefully no one is going there and like, I noticed you didn't go to my last show.
Yeah,
Because people
having
could be a little
receipts-
weird about that.
having
Like,
receipts.
I mean, people have their own lives, and I think we have to respect that. But you know, when it comes to you as an individual artist, I never would have thought that. But I never thought that because I see you doing all this other stuff. So it's I would never even would have put you in that boat.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, people, but that's also like that's the beauty of social media.
Yeah.
You can present what you want to present. Not
True.
to say that like everything here is a facade, but there may be some things that you don't understand or realize that's going on in the background. Because what we do with the community is genuine. Like we still got to film this. Like I can't fake a hour plus conversation with you, Richie. Why would I do that?
Yeah, right.
Like I want to have a genuine conversation
Yeah.
with you. Like I'm not gonna just waste 2 hours if it's just performative. That's not helping anybody.
Fair, yeah. I mean, that's a great word, performative. Like sometimes, I mean, again, I'll throw out the word authentic. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to go and enjoy,
Perform,
do it.
but I'm not performative. Sorry, I don't know if you think
I love that. That's cool. I like that.
pointing fingers is rude or not, but I just had an idea coming, so I just
I don't.
like,
That's awesome, man.
yeah.
I keep thinking you're trying to do a fist bump, so I'm like, I'm ready. I'm like, no, okay, he's pointing.
For sure. You're good at this. Hell yeah.
Nah, man, that's cool. I like that. I perform, but I'm not performative.
Yeah. Right now, earlier, Richie, we were talking about the comedy, and you said that it could open up a whole
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah. I
I've
love
noticed,
comedy, man.
But have you guys been slowly phasing it out a little bit of BWOMS?
I've had to, man, because unfortunately, I'll just say it like this: like I've started running into way too many people who tell me that they don't go to the open mics anymore because of the comedians. And part of that is because I think a lot. I mean, just like we talked about it earlier, like a lot of people were doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
And we also said this, you know, you have to know your audience. I think a lot of like people trying to start out want to be more offensive rather than make people laugh, and also not understand like who's the audience I'm performing for. If you go to a comedy club and like that's cool, people are gonna laugh. People want to do that. Like we love as humans, we love to laugh.
Yeah.
It releases endorphins. It makes us feel good. But like sometimes at the open mics, we get a lot of comedians who are like, I'm just gonna say something offensive. I'm gonna make shit up. And again, back to authenticity. I feel like some of the premises are like, that didn't happen. Or like that's
Yeah.
not. You're just trying to like. So they
Shock value?
Sometimes, yeah, it's a little bit of that. Which again, that is a humor. People enjoy it.
Yeah.
But you have to also know the audience. So if we get a lot of poets, we get a lot of people out there who aren't thinking like that, you know, they're like, this isn't for me. Or they, you know, maybe they identify as like trans or LGBTQ, and if you're hearing someone up there like just say shitty, hateful jokes about them, like
Yeah.
they're like, I don't feel safe here. This is not my spot.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. I'm friends with a lot of comedians in town.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
dude, one of my homies, Anthony Officer Brown, he's
Yep.
freaking clever. He's funny.
The boy.
Super dynamic. You know, so I like to support. I try and go to shows, man. I try and go to comedy shows. But like, here's the thing. I had way too many people start telling me like I don't go anymore because of the comedians. So I'm like, damn. What if I did? What if I had spaces where there weren't any? And so like, we're starting to like do that more. With that said, though, I don't want to completely block off comedy. The whole idea is to give people a chance if they want to try stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing it at Mono Bar. Like people want to come and sign up. I feel like there's a lot of lessons to be learned. Like know your audience. You know, like you may have to change because that's another thing. If you want to become a professional comedian, you also have to understand like maybe you might have a corporate gig or another gig like where you have to be family friendly, or you have to like if you get a paid gig, you can't do the same jokes that you usually do. So you have to like write good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the age old things is about punching down, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to punch down in comedy. That's what they tell you at least. But I don't know. A lot of people do take it the wrong way when I'm like, I don't want to do comedy because, like I said, we all like to laugh.
Yeah.
You know, come on, you know. But I want also other performers to feel good and feel safe. Because like the other thing is this is really what it comes down to. A lot of guys who go, especially starting out, make no attempt to be part of the community. Comedians will sign up and then they'll like go and leave, or they'll hang out in the back smoking and not listen to anyone else, support anyone else. And then when they go up, they'll perform and then they'll leave. There's no attempt to like try and be part of it. And that's a lot of the open mic comedians would do this, you know. And that wasn't always the case. For a good while, we were at Black Orchid Lounge, and we had a lot of like community. I think with some of the comedians who would hang out, and maybe wouldn't see face to face, see eye to eye on some things, but could still get along. But we were getting a bunch of guys who never tried to stop, listen, and support any other performers if they were up there. And like I said, they would leave right away, or they would fight each other. There was so much infighting. It was just like, oh, guys, stop. It's embarrassing. And the other thing, I know that they're not depending on this to. There are a lot of other comedy open mics, specific comedy open mics and shows that have built up. So when I started like cutting it out, I know they've got spaces that they can go to that would be better. And I'll support. I'll go and watch. I'll listen. Like,
You didn't feel like you were closing the door on like a community?
no. Like I said, I've kept the bar open to I know people have felt that way for sure.
Yeah.
I think some people have expressed like a little bit of like, what's going on here, and some people who don't get it, people who want to complain, but I'm just also trying to take care of a different segment in the creative world who maybe don't get as much. Because come on, comedy is one of the most popular art forms. Poetry in bars? Nope, not as much. That's a very rare niche thing. So I'm just trying to like take care of those people, like make them feel good. And like I said, it's not completely done. Like, and there's a lot of venues right now. There's a new comedy club that opened up too. So I also see like these guys doing stuff, and that's cool. I'm happy for them.
Yeah.
That's cool that they can still have a spot and try stuff out and make people laugh, because that's, in the end, that's what we want.
Has this been the toughest challenge so far for you as the director of BWOMS? Kind of like that shift, and then also like more so making BWOMS a safe space?
Yeah, that's a phrase I think a lot of people react differently to.
Yeah.
I want people to feel comfortable sharing their art,
Okay.
and also a space where they can share it. So
Is that the biggest hurdle?
maybe not one of the biggest. I think it has been.
What is?
It's a good question. I sometimes
It's been resolved. It's not an ongoing hurdle. What's the biggest one?
maybe is. I mean, I don't know. Like as always, like we are still very an underground thing, and
Yeah.
for such a big population, and I'm talking about like El Paso and Juarez, we're such a big like
Cruises
border
too?
city.
You
Yeah,
guys are-
between
you
the
guys-
three cities.
You guys have two. You guys are.
We
spread out.
expanded the cruises. That's another thing recently. Yeah. It's still a very underground niche thing. It'd be cool to get more people and again going back to bubbles. It's a little bit of a bubble, and I know that there are people out there who are interested in this kind of thing, but just don't hear about us. And it's like I'm still trying to figure out how can I reach out to them, bridge it out to them, and the other thing is just maybe it is related to the community thing, but like people who get the wrong idea or the wrong perception.
Of open mic.
Yeah, like it's supposed to be a space where people are trying stuff out, and there's newbies. There are people who've been doing it for a while, but I don't know. Sometimes I'll see people walk in early, and as you guys know, it's not an early town,
Yeah.
right? So people walk in and like kind of like judge, like, and then they'll leave. I'm like, damn, if only you had stuck around like another like 30 minutes, an hour, you could have like people would shown up, and you could have been part of a great show.
Yeah.
But I do kind of see that from time to time, and that's the hard one because I can't control other people's perceptions.
Mm-hmm. You have to remind yourself some people came in just for like a drink sometimes.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So especially for the bars and breweries, I mean, that's always going to be a thing. And I tell people like, they're not. I tell people as a performer, it's up to you to like get their attention,
Yeah.
and then you get a new fan.
But that's easy. Do you think that's easy because of the fact that it's all such a free service? It's like, hey, look, like I'm providing a lot of this for you, but this is also an opportunity for you to like see where you're at.
I mean, I've never really thought about it like that. I hope they do recognize it
Not in a
as an
condescending way, of course.
as an opportunity where they can get a little bit of stage time without having to like book a show or like pay to play or whatever other stuff happens. Like it just
Like,
it's
fit
not as
the
long of a
genre,
set.
Fit the lineup. And
Yeah, the other thing is, I hope it's not as long of a set.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of it. Like, 'cause I don't know. Sometimes people get offended. Like, oh, I can't play more. Like, yeah, there's like 12 other people signed up after you, so
yeah, it can get long, man.
it does get long. And sometimes I mess up. I try and be better about being strict, but I'm too nice, you know. I'm like, yeah, do another one. Okay, cool. But then I'm like, damn, this just made it longer.
Yeah.
That's why I have to have an enforcer. Someone to be like,
You need some muscle in there.
no, like I mean, back in the day, even if we actually had a live DJ, like DJ Gamble.
Oh, true.
And like he would like, if somebody was going too long, he'd start playing music or something. But that was, you need to have that role because to me, it can't be the MC. The MC has to have like good grace and good vibes. If you start like scolding people for being loud, if you tell people like, oh, you can't, I have to cut you off.
Yeah.
That's already gonna start like a bad vibe. So when I say an enforcer, it's like another person to kind of play that role.
Bad cop.
Where you can still, yeah. Okay, that's a good way of saying it. Perfect. Yeah, you do need that. Do you need that separation? Otherwise, people are gonna associate you with the bad stuff and then like not want to come back. But I haven't really had that in a while. You know, I'm also DJing back there, like playing music in between the sets and.
Man. When it comes to we were just talking about how like you answered one of the questions that I had about having your passions be intertwined with each other. There's a lot of pros to that, but have you seen any cons to that in the sense that like you can't escape literature sometimes when you just want to like take a break from it, or is that not really something that comes to mind a lot? I hope I didn't introduce that if it doesn't come to mind.
Yeah, no, it really hasn't. I mean, I haven't seen it as a roadblock or a negative thing. It's only enhanced what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, talking about like the intertwining of stuff, like I feel I have a really special thing where I get to collaborate with my friends, the jazz dudes, you know, Eddie Provencio, Bruno Avitia.
Yeah.
Like, we've known each other for a decade because we all started around the same time, you know, like performing, playing, and you know, over the years, like it just turned into a thing where like, yeah, come spit some poetry, and like that's only because they know me through that, and so I've been able to do some jazz and poetry shows with some of the best jazz musicians in the city, you know, like, and that's to me, I've never found it a hindrance. It's only helped. Plus, like I said, I get to go visit schools from time to time, and even though I don't perform that much, like. You know, I remember I do visits.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was walking downtown and there was like a group of kids and they were shouting out, "Keep it cosmic," because that's like one of my poems. I'm like, that was cool. Damn. So they must have been like one of the places I went to go speak to the students or perform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just want to go ahead and end off with one more question.
Sure.
Before we close out with the proper outros. I've been trying to figure out the question I want to ask just about everyone. I want that one universal one that like provides different answers and all that.
Nice.
I'm shaping it out as best as I can. I like the one that I've been asking though, where it's let's say you were given a blank check for BWOMS.
Oh yeah.
And you could hire an assistant, that's fine. The thing is, though, they can't be your personal assistant to do a bunch of different things. What is the one task that you really wish you could offset to help grow BWOMS? Like, that's the purpose of it. You can't do it no more. There's somebody better than you out there that could just be doing this for you. What is it?
That's okay, cool. I hope I don't stray off too far from like maybe what you're imagining for my response, but I have always envisioned BWOMS to live after me, to exist after me. Right now, people associated me with it, and that's it. I want to be able to step away, so it is a little bit of that. So, blank check. It would be nice to have like a space, a dedicated space, a building that could also be maybe a coffee shop and a bookstore, and there's readings. It's an open mic. We can have like audio there, you know, and if that's something you can set up, bring in, you know. Promote literary events, writing workshops, stuff for kids. A true something for the community to like express themselves and maybe do like live art and stuff, like put up new art every month, and that would be cool because the biggest obstacle for a lot of us all the time is money.
Yeah.
If that was an obstacle, yeah, I'd set something like that up. And
just to be clear. Are you saying that with the blank check, you wouldn't hire a person, you'd get a venue, you'd get your own
but that would also include people who work there and like run it.
You got to have one person who does one task. What's the one task that you're ready to offload?
Oh, I see. I misunderstood the question.
Yeah. It's okay. That's a good answer, though. I thought we were on the verge of something crazy.
I heard blank check, and I was like, whoa, crazy.
Yeah. But it's just because you have the blank check to hire one person to take one task off of your plate? What's the one that is like the most valuable to take off your plate?
That's a really good question because I often play many roles at the
Yeah.
like,
What's the first hat
what-
you're taking off?
Yeah. What's the hat you're taking off?
honestly, one that I am already weak at. I already told you guys earlier. I think maybe before we even recording, it's like one of my weak spots. The whole financial thing. Someone who can help me do like sponsorships, raise money, fundraising, like all that kind, like the financial part of it. Because it's a lot of what I do is self-funded, and we are a nonprofit, but grants are hard. So like that would mean like looking into grants, writing grants, and getting like federal funding, state funding, finding business sponsorships. Like that's already such a big hole for me as it is. So I live off of volunteer work, and I do try and pay out of pocket people who do help. But yeah, if I can get someone to help with the financial side
It's
of
like
things,
a fundraiser.
financial side,
Yeah.
that's definitely easily that.
You'd pick that over like a social media manager?
Nah, if somebody's taking care of all that stuff, I don't mind doing that. That's
Okay.
kind of fun,
All right,
you know.
yeah. Okay.
Or I wouldn't mind doing that, but that's the stuff I'm bad at.
Some people might want to take that off because, like, think about it. Like, you are hosting, you're recording it. Chances are you're the one that's going to have to edit it, film it.
Yeah.
And now you got to find a way to strategize it on social media. I could see that being a lot of people's first answer.
That's where my mind was going, and I'm like, a lot of people probably answer that, but I think if this were to grow bigger than it already is, it would need to involve that kind
Good
of stuff.
financials, good fundraising.
Yeah,
Good
raising
grant writing.
funds, like tiers, like sponsorship things.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Because I've thought about it, I've just never executed it, and it's hard because I'm spread thin in a lot of ways. So that would take so much pressure off that I wouldn't mind doing all that other stuff, honestly.
Yeah. How far along that planning process would you say you've gotten when it comes to like trying to create tiers and stuff?
Just conversations with people.
Like,
That's as far as I've gone.
yeah, you never written anything down and like try to make it concrete. 'Cause
Maybe
sponsorship
some
tiers is
sketching.
Sponsor tiers is a very common idea.
It is, and I've like thought of like there's like I think a lot of people do the same kind of stuff. Like we'll get your logo on our flyer,
Okay,
we'll put
yeah.
it on there. Like, since I do video, like I'll do a commercial for your business, stuff like that. Like that could be involved. Like I'll have a projector at the show with your logo, stuff like that. But it's just never come to fruition. I've only brainstormed with people, shared that idea, including this podcast now. So, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe if anyone's listening and wants to help in that way, that also could be a thing.
Get your checkbooks open, boys.
Oh yeah, I mean the angel investors.
Yeah, for
Like,
real.
so you just want that, like that's the dream. That one filthy rich person who's like, I really like what you're doing. Let me just fund you. Like, so that also requires a lot of visibility, right? So
What is it? Last question, promise. What is
Sure.
it about niche platforms, niche communities?
Yeah.
What is it that you would like for, let's say this program, MFHQ, MF Pearl, eventually reaches the entire city, becomes a household name.
yeah,
What is it that you would like for the city of El Paso to understand better about niche communities and especially amongst the arts that they might not see?
yeah. I mean, I wish it would be celebrated more. Anytime a big name comes through town for a concert or a big thing, it's flooded, But like, what about us, doing all this? Like, just to celebrate it, support it, share it, with friends and commenting on the posts and like, like interacting.
Yeah.
I think that's something I would love to see. Like in the mass, because we have so many people here in the region
Yeah.
again.
Just a tighter knit community.
Yeah.
A lot less stranger activity.
Like,
If I don't know that lineup, I'm not gonna go to that event.
Maybe.
Nah, get out of here with
like,
that.
like accept it. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of tribalism involved, with all this stuff. But I think if we all support each other, we all grow much bigger and get pushed out to people who won't necessarily know about this stuff, but have been looking for it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, music lovers,
yeah.
people who love writing, people who love just super raw jazz.
I think I still see people who, I mean, I guess if you grow up here, and this is true of anywhere, right? It's like the whole big fish, small pond thing that people
Yeah.
feel this mentality like, I gotta leave. And sometimes I think people don't even realize this stuff is here They don't look for it. I don't know what's up with that, or I don't know how we fix that. But I also do find that a lot of people who do leave come back and appreciate it so much more. So I just hope we can celebrate all this stuff more.
I've heard that often. Yeah. Hopefully, without having to leave in order to appreciate it. Appreciate it while you're here.
Build.
You still want to leave, perfectly fine. But hopefully, it doesn't take having to leave and come back. I get you, Richie. Where can people find the boy at?
Good convo, man. So I use Instagram most a lot these days. I talked about the name Dead Wall Reveries, which is that reference, and I'm on Facebook as well. Come check out the open mics. I would say check out El Paso BWOMS and check out the shows. We do have so many throughout the month that if you can't make one, you could probably make another one. And find a night that works for you. We do an online mic every Monday, so one of our shows you don't even have to leave your house. You just need the internet, right? And
True,
log in.
Yeah.
And that's cool because we have people tune in from all over the world.
Yeah.
We have Malaysia and
Nice.
the Philippines. We have Canada. We've had people come in from Paris, and of course all around the U.S. as well. New York City, like the East Coast, West Coast. South. So check out Dead Wall Reveries. That's my personal, and I post stuff there. And then BWOMS for all the stuff we got going on. And I just hope
El Paso BWOMS.
El Paso BWOMS. That's the Instagram.
And then the Cruces one too, right? You got the Cruces.
We are in Cruces now as well. So I've got some dope people helping me run that. We are gonna find some new venues and people were asking for it. So all right, cool. We'll do some Las Cruces as well.
Richie. The boy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
thank you so much for being here, man. It's been great to go ahead and learn a lot more about you. I feel like at all the open mics, you're always busy showcasing everyone else.
That's hard. Also, I hate that. Yeah, I gotta. It's hard to socialize with everyone. But anyway, I know we're ending, so.
No, I got you, man. It's been an honor to go and learn a lot more about you. I feel like we don't ever get the chance to ask you the questions or get to hear you be on the mic more. I've heard you go ahead and share some of your verses, and they're dope as fuck. But I don't get to hear you talk about yourself.
Oh, thanks,
man. So it's been an honor to go and learn more, especially because in my introduction, I really genuinely meant that just like a lot of other musicians, my start came from BWOMS. Yeah. And you were the host then, too.
Thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, man. So it's been really cool. And it's been really cool to passively get to know you, but have this sit down with you right here. We've been friends for sure, but I don't feel like I knew you before like I do right now. So, writer to writer, you have a great outlook on it, and I'm glad that you are in the leadership position of BWOMS as well as an educator of writing. I think you do it justice, and I wish BWOMS the best. I hope to be a more familiar face as well. I know I come every so often.
Yeah.
But I do hope to also be there more frequently as well. But you know what we do over here, man? That's what we do at the HQ. Conversation. Good conversation, that is. Every Wednesday. Legends only in the building. Y'all know how it is. Hey, make sure that you guys show love to all of the channels. Instagram's where you find most of our updates. And you can find all of our full-length episodes on our YouTube as well as mfpro.com. However, if you're checking the podcast out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon Music, make sure that you guys show love, share it, give it a rating, whatever you guys can do on any of those platforms to show love. Make sure that you do so that we can continue to grow and that more eyes can find our platform and what we're trying to accomplish here. Just like BWOMS, we're trying to go and showcase a lot of what El Paso and the Southwest and La Frontera has to offer. And it's very important for these platforms to thrive. So thank you guys so much for the support. We hope you guys keep continuing. And we'll see you guys on the next Wednesday at the HQ. Live at MFHQ, that is. Yeah.